You ready to do this, Lindsay? Are you ready to do this, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my guest co-pilots tonight are Lindsey and Lisa. We're not two nerds. We're three nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 122. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Man, so here's the thing. Lindsey, Lisa, I'm super happy to have you on. But I said before we even started, if I don't have eyeballs on the intro, I will screw it up. I can't even count to start the night off. This is going to be awesome.
Fantastic.
I love this. So super friends, Lindsey and Lisa are the co-hosts of this amazing new podcast called the Garbage and Gold Podcast. You can find it online. It's called Garbage and Gold Pod, at Garbage and Gold Pod on Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Instagram.
Yep. It's at Garbage Gold Pod.
At Garbage Gold Pod. There you go.
Yep.
So why don't you, instead of me, because super friends listen to me all the time, why don't you tell them what your podcast is about, maybe a little bit about yourself, how you guys met, whatever you feel comfortable with.
All right.
Any one of you, Lisa, Lindsey, go for it.
All right,
This is
Lindsey,
where it gets hard.
Go for it. Go for it,
Okay.
Lindsey.
So Lisa and I are friends, and so every week we debate based on a certain topic, the garbage of that topic and the gold of that topic, and there's usually a fight or two. There's a lot of arguing, but fun arguing because we always are still friends at the end. But
Yeah.
Energetic debate. That's how I would put it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we get to talk through our opinions and each other's opinions, and then we like to hear from other people what their opinions are as well around those topics. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So how long have you guys known each other?
Oh my gosh.
It's been a minute. We've known each other over 10 years is what we
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? Was it, through work? Was it just, common friends, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we met through work. We both work in the same field, and so we got to know each other that way. People that listen to our podcast will know this too, but Lindsey is the extrovert and I am the introvert. And so it was much easier for me to get to know Lindsey than Lindsey to get to know me.
Right.
So it took some time, but now we are very good friends. And yeah, it was really neat to meet someone like Lindsey and to have shared interests, but also just really like each other. It's been really great.
So Lisa, I've been thinking this week, did I force you to be my friend? I legit had this moment this week where I went, oh no, did I make Lisa be my friend? I think I did. And I apologize, but also come on.
Don't be
this
sorry.
Friendship is the greatest thing that happened to us ever. So
It's like back on the playground, you were holding her hostage. You're like, if you're not my friend, I'm not sharing my chocolate milk with you.
That's right.
I promise. These empty threats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I just found out how much Lisa hates going to lunch with people, and I feel like that was one of the first things we did together is go to lunch. And so I'm sorry that I here's my public apology. I'm sorry I made you go to lunch with me. I didn't know.
Necessary. I have to do these things. I have to do these things.
Or look at it that she went out of her comfort zone to hang out with you.
Good point.
And that showed how much she wanted to really be your friend. She just secretly wasn't going to admit it yet.
Right, because I'm that amazing. Okay, that makes so much more sense.
Amazing. Yes.
I am not a licensed, therapist, and so that is completely false, most likely, but
We'll go
plausible.
with it. It feels
Maybe.
good. It feels good.
I have been watching Frasier lately on Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
Maybe
you're
I'm looking
basically-
into
You're
stuff.
basically qualified. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. I'm a little more of the Niles therapy than the Frasier. Anyway, it's weird. So I have a few questions because I have super friends. No joke. I listened to Garbage and Gold and I was like, okay, we were kind of talking and I'm looking for some guest hosts. And I think Lisa reached out and said, oh, we'd love to come on. And I was like, great. And I was like, but I got to go listen to what I'm going to agree to because, you know, this is the internet. Strangers are still strangers, even though we're all podcast buddies.
Yes.
And so I started listening and I was like, oh no, these are legit cool ladies. I'm totally down with this. These women sound right on board with kind of the podcast. And then as I started listening more and finding out more things about you, I couldn't help but laugh at like how much I identified with both of you in different ways.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because Lisa, you said that you would rather stay inside and like look at pictures of dragons and talk about your Zelda tattoo. And I was in tears laughing because I was like, that's me. I mean, I don't have the Zelda tattoo. I've got a Superman tattoo, but I mean, I get that, right?
Yes, thank you. I feel
but
seen.
then I'm also very much an extrovert, like Lindsay.
Yeah.
If I'm in a room and like it's a party and like the party's kind of dead, I just get in there and start telling funny stories and get people laughing and going and get the conversation going. And I make myself the middle of everything. So
yes, absolutely.
So I identify with Lindsay as well. I love your dichotomy on the podcast. I just have to say that.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Now that being said, I want to get back to a couple points from your podcast.
Oh, no.
I'm real nervous.
I have a list.
Okay. Oh, great. There's a list. Lindsay's
I stand by
favorite.
nothing I've ever said.
So, Lindsay, on your episode where you talked about music of the 90s, your gold was grunge music from the 90s. 100%. You are correct.
Thank you.
That is the music of my generation.
And would you like to tell people who have not already listened how I did in the deliberation, the online poll for, I believe it was against 90s punk ska and then 90s grunge. And guess who did not win that deliberation? I'm still furious about it. It happened weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Thank you.
I listened to that episode and I went, no, I was around. So the 90s were like junior high and high school, and then like the tail end of the 90s was college for me. So very familiar with 90s music. I went, ska, punk, like, except for maybe like Green Day, which was really more rock than punk. And I know the big, with like Lisa said, with the Dookie album, that was the album that most like hardcore punk people said they sold out on.
Yes.
And they went too mainstream.
Yes.
So I consider them from about that point on just more rock than punk, but they definitely were a punk band, started as a punk band. But ska was always like the three kids in my high school that were like off in a corner by themselves.
And one of them was Lisa. So that's what we
Yes. But like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, like that was listened to by like everyone I knew. And it literally was a defining genre of the 90s and of a generation. And the fact that lost, like a part of me died that day I listened to that podcast.
Same. Yes, it was a hard day. It was a hard day. I started to rethink whether I wanted to be a podcaster in that moment. So
the thing about asking people's opinions is that they have them and they're not always the same as yours, it turns out. And you're like, okay, here we go, everybody.
That is true. And I guess also like depending on your genre of people you might be asking, like, how did 90s country not get in there? I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. I'm a rock and roll kind of guy. So like, you know, the late 80s, like Poison, Rat, Motley Crue, leading Guns N' Roses, then leading into all of the grunge stuff. Like that's me. Metallica, that's me. AC/DC, that's me through and through. Not a Garth Brooks fan. But oh my, he was huge in the 90s. And he was like probably like the biggest selling star. How did no one come back with that and say like, this is like, I didn't see a lot of people saying 90s country.
Not really, no.
And that was huge.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, we did get called out for not hitting Metallica. that was one we heard about. And then people really didn't like that my garbage was teen pop music from the 90s. They wanted,
I'm okay with you there. We're good.
And they hold those close. So, which is fine. I listen to it, but it's not great music. So
No. A couple other things. Fast food restaurants. Lindsay. No. In-N-Out. In-N-Out as gold? Here's the thing.
Are you kidding me?
I lived in Southern California for 2 years. I ate plenty of that. it's one of those things where I think it's a nostalgia thing for people who have had it a few times and then moved away or have only had it once. But like, if I'm honest, they do 3 things, like you said, and you're absolutely right. Fries, shakes, and burgers.
Yeah.
However, when you only do 3 things, all 3 things need to be banging. They need to be the best possible.
What?
Their fries are hot garbage. You bite into that thing, it's like a little puff of air. Oh, no. No.
Oh my gosh. First of all, you're wrong. And second of all, I'm right. And that's really where we need to land on that one. So, in and out. I love you forever. Please send me free food. Please come to Minnesota. That's more. Please come to Minnesota. Just come here.
Yeah. I'll tell you why that they've expanded slowly, and I do know this for a fact, is that they try to deliver all their food fresh daily.
Yeah.
And that's why it's taken forever for them to get out of California and get into like Utah, Nevada, Arizona, and Oregon.
They have their own patty making facilities.
I know, it's amazing,
It's
right?
amazing. Yeah.
That is cool.
So we did when Stu was on the podcast for about a year or so, we did an episode where we talked fast food, and we talked about like all like the individual, like, you know, what place do you go to for burgers? What place do you go to for fries? What place do you go to for nuggets? And like, we broke it all down. And I was so hungry after that episode. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And I think the clear winner for us was Wendy's, just because of the such variety of all the things they do, and those things are usually so good in their individual categories.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was kind of where we landed on that.
Yeah.
But see, Wendy's here, like, I think it's all though about your experience, because like the Wendy's here are not good. I won't tell you where I live, but I live
Really?
in Minnesota, and the Wendy's here, I once sat in the drive-thru for 15 minutes waiting for my food, and I was like, I've already paid, so I'm just sitting here, and I'm watching teenagers inside like talking to each other and not making my food, and so I was like, I'm done with you, Wendy's. You're written off.
That is not a unfair criticism though, because sometimes Wendy's does get kind of slow over here too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know. It's
Not unfair.
It's not just me.
No. I want to know, how is your golden peacock vows going?
I feel like, Spencer, you've hit everything that we fight about, and like things that we're still mad about. And by we, I mean me.
She
I
means
think
her. Yeah,
things
I'm
that
fine.
mad about.
I'm doing fine. No, Lindsay's mad. I love it. I love
Lisa,
it.
how many times have you said peacock vows since, that week?
it gets brought up quite a bit. But as far as how I'm doing on my peacock vow, planning a trip, I don't think I've started planning a trip this year yet, other than
You got
the
time.
ones that we do. Yeah, there's time for that, but other than like little mini trips here and there. But yeah, so that was my golden peacock vow anyway.
I can't.
Super friends, literally go listen to their New Year's resolution episode. It is literally like, if you do not cry yourself to tears at a few points during that episode, I will be highly surprised. Highly surprised. So anyway, let's tell Super Friends what's going on my week, because I have some interesting news. First of all, I got to go see the Shazam preview. Nice. So that doesn't come out for like 2 weeks, and I got to see it on Saturday night.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I'm not going to spoil anything because this movie has not hit theaters for the mass public yet. But I will say, from the trailer, I thought the movie looked like it was going to be funny and be a good time and be lighthearted. That was the tone I got from the trailer. I am here to say that they absolutely deliver on that. It is a fun and funny movie through and through, and it also has a really kind of heartwarming story about family, and kind of has to do with like foster kids and parents that, bring in foster kids and whatnot. And so like the story of the family kind of is the undercurrent to the plot, kind of the subplot is really on point. It's really good. It doesn't feel janky or out of place. The pacing's perfect there. But it's just fun, and it's Zachary Levi, and it makes me think of the TV show Chuck. It is
so good.
It's golden, to use the term. You need to see this.
I was really nervous because you paused, and I was like, oh no, he's going to tell me like the tone did not match, and I was going to get really sad. So when you were like, it is exactly what you think it is, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. So.
Yes.
I hope the movie makes a lot of money, and I hope they say, hey, let's greenlight a Shazam 2. Let's try to not take ourselves so seriously over here in the DCEU, because we have a problem with that.
Oh, DC, you're there on the struggle bus for the past, I don't know, 30 years? Easy. Yeah, it's not been great for them.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a rough go. Zack Snyder's not involved anymore. We're moving on, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
That is a good thing.
Yes.
So I did that. That was a lot of fun. However, here's something. Let me ask both of you, and you tell me if this is a thing. Did you ever babysit when you were younger?
Yes.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you babysat, did you ever bring like arts and crafts to do with the kids you were babysitting?
If you read the Babysitters Club books, which I did, thank you, 90s child, they do recommend that you bring like a babysitting kit, and it does have arts and crafts and books and things with you. I never did because I was always just at the neighbor's house, but yes, I've heard of that.
I did not do that, but I know a lot of babysitters that do that, so I'm familiar with the idea.
We just started with a new babysitter. She's the daughter of friends of ours that we know pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
She just turned 12, so she's kind of at that age where we're like, okay, we're comfortable going out and seeing a movie or going to dinner and letting her come over. And her parents are literally like, a minute's walk down the road. And the last 2 times she's come, she brings these arts and crafts, and we came home and there's these like little flip books that my boys made about all the things they love about us. I'm like, this is great. I was like, I was just going to let you watch TV and eat pizza, but
I know. Look at this.
This is cool.
Wow.
Yes, I love that.
So I didn't know that was a thing. I apparently did not read the Babysitters Club books.
Let me tell you.
By my surprise to this phenomenon.
You're missing out.
Apparently. Also this weekend, I got out into the yard to do some yard work because a bunch of rain was coming, and I ripped up my backyard rough this last fall because we just have weird soil and it compacts. It's a lot of clay, and so we've had a hard time keeping grass growing. We bought a home that was a rental, and so I got out there last fall, dug up a bunch, put down a bunch of new soil, mixed in a bunch of grass seed, and it's coming up, but it's coming up really kind of patchy. So on Saturday, I got out, got the spreader out, went and bought a bunch of grass seed, and I put my boys to work. And I said, you're going to walk a straight line, and you're going to pull the little handle, and then at the other side, your brother's going to do it coming back. And then after they made about 1.5 passes each, that's when I had to step in. I'm like, okay, no, you're clumping up the grass seed all in like 2 spots. I need to spread this out.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, but I did try to say I need to be a good father. I need to teach them a skill. I need to put them to work, along with the little magnet chore chart up in the kitchen that we're trying to, get them to earn tablet time and earn time on the weekends for the TV. It's like, they got to earn some stuff. I was like, you got to do the help mom and dad chore, and that's help your old man spread some grass seed. I probably could have just give it to him in handfuls and let him run around throwing it.
Say like feeding chickens, yeah.
Yeah, that probably would have worked better, but...
Or had them do like a grass seed fight, and then just make sure they like run all over the yard. I'm telling you, babysitting.
That's a good idea.
Write it down.
Idea.
If this seed does not take, grass seed fight's my next go-to.
Yep. There you go.
I love that idea. And then, so the last thing I did for the Super Friends, I've been replaying Kingdom Hearts. I know it's an old game. It got remastered on the PS4, but it's a game I can play with my kids. It's family friendly. It's the Final Fantasy characters, which, is a genre I absolutely adore, mixed with all the Disney stuff, which we love. And we're trying to play through the first game right now. And we're about, I want to say halfway-ish. And then we'll finish that. Then we'll do the full second game. And then I can actually go purchase the third game for cheap.
Yes.
So,
by the time you get there, it'll be
by the time I get there, it'll be like fall. So
yes.
I'm not into spending full retail on video games anymore because my backlog and...
so hard, yeah.
Well, that and time. Like I find I podcast, I prep for a podcast, I edit a podcast, I publish it all. I'm a father. I work a full-time job.
Yep.
I'm looking at other things that interest me. I want to take scuba diving lessons. Like, there's just things I want to do.
Yeah.
I can't put 100 hours into a video game like I used to when I was 18.
I know.
Well, I mean, I could, but I got to call in sick a few times.
You have to feed your children sometimes, I guess.
Ideally.
Yeah. I haven't bought a full price game in years, but I did just end up buying Sekiro when it came out. Ooh,
that
live.
Looks good.
It's super fun. But yeah, I forgot how much games are when you buy them right away. I'm like, oh,
yes.
okay.
Like $60? What?
Yeah,
I buy these for 20 tops.
I know, but man, every once in a while.
Black Friday.
Yeah.
That's what you got to wait for.
It's true.
That's what you got to wait for. Get the
Yes.
deals. Get the deals.
Yes.
All right. So that's the only last thing I had kind of in my week roundup. Are you ladies ready to kill some Bothans?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, we are into Rebel Intelligence. We have sufficiently murdered Bothans for information, and let's deal that out this week. So I'm going to kick things off. I know that's a little bit of a out of the norm, but I want to talk about the biggest thing to me that I'm excited about is that old Disney-Fox merger. So if you have listened to this podcast, if you haven't been under a rock lately, you know that Disney decided to spend oodles and oodles of money to buy 21st Century Fox, get basically all their TV, all their movie property. The deal closed this last week. So officially, the House of Mouse owns 21st Century Fox. The only things that Fox still has is Fox News and Fox Sports. That's really it. So, Lisa, let me ask you this. Now there's a chance that we could see potentially X-Men in the MCU crossing over with the Avengers. As a self-professed nerd that you say you are, are you excited for this? Like, does this get to you? Like, does this resonate at all?
It would
you
have
just
been
not
a
care?
lot more exciting 10 years ago, I think, because the Avengers is wrapping up now. So I feel like even with Age of Ultron, where they were barely able to have Scarlet Witch, like, because those are Magneto's kids, right?
Yep.
So, and they couldn't talk about that because of the, licensing or whatever. So I feel like it would have been really cool, although maybe it would have oversaturated the universe and not been the same. But I think what makes me nervous is that I think it's just going to continue on a franchise way past the time that it needs to be continued on with, because I feel like the Avengers is going to wrap up and it's going to be, I wouldn't say nice and tight because, my God, there's been a lot, but they've all been really good.
Right.
But yeah, X-Men being brought into that. I like the idea. I like that it's possible for future spin-off things, but I'm also wary about how far it's going to go.
So here's what I think is potentially could happen, because I don't think the folks over at Disney are going to want to shut down this cash gravy train anytime soon.
Right.
So what I think they're going to do, and this, I haven't had a sneak preview, so I don't know. I'm just putting that out there now, as a disclaimer. I think they're going to find a way at the end of this next movie to kill off a lot of the people that have expiring contracts.
Right.
I mean, that just makes sense.
Right.
The Avengers as a team is going to be decimated, and they're going to need to rebuild. I think they're going to start hinting potentially at the next big event that's going to require movies to build up towards that. And I think that because Disney's been really tight-lipped with what they want to do for Phase 4, and I know that they've known that this merger was coming down the pipeline for a few years, I think that we may actually see the Avengers come into this somehow, and not the Avengers, excuse me, the X-Men, maybe the Fantastic Four, stuff like that. We may see that start creeping together to where they come together at some future big event, another 10, 15 movies down the road.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
It's printing money at this point.
Right.
Why would you say no?
Right.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a reboot of X-Men done with integrity. That would be very exciting to me too, because I think X-Men has such a lot of really great stuff out there, and I feel like it has not been done super well. So,
Lindsay, what's your take on the potential X-Men in the MCU?
Well, I don't know that I am a huge X-Men expert, but I think for me what is troubling is now that this merger has happened, already Disney has shut down one of Fox's like kind of middle ground. Like, I'm a huge independent movie person, and so Fox has
Fox Searchlight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Fox 2000. Is that what it was?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it's
so
Fox 2000.
That's already shut down. And so I feel like, competition is a good thing. thing. And so if Disney owns everything, because Disney owns Lucasfilms and now they have Marvel, it's like sometimes it's good to compete, and sometimes it's good for especially movie studios to try to outdo each other. And if Disney's got it all, I just feel like, I don't know, I want competition. I want smaller movies to have a shot, and it feels like they don't. So Fox 2000 was the one who the branch that did like Life of Pi and these other like Oscar nominated really artsy films, and I like that's now gone. And I'm like, I'm glad that Marvel's universe is all brought back together, and I think that's great. But I do. I think it's great. I do enjoy.
I'm so happy they're all together finally. That Xavier can be with
reunited, and it feels so good.
That's right. I'm happy for them, but I'd like to see some more artsy movies. So I'm a little worried.
Well, I think the competition point you make is actually really valid. Going back to something Lisa said on your guys' podcast, where you were talking about the 90s era, Stone Cold Steve Austin era of WWE, which I'm old school. It still feels like WWF to me. I know that's, we moved past that.
Yes.
But that era, though, had massive competition with the WCW.
Yes.
They were two rival promotions, and they were trying to one-up each other. And so it elevated that art form of basically what I call male soap opera to new levels. But then eventually the one died out and was bought by the other. And then it was like, hey, now how do we compete against ourselves? And that was about the time I stopped watching. Also, I was like 18 at the time. So it was probably about time I should, do other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think there's something about trying to outdo each other and like raising the art form. I don't know if we can do that if Disney owns everyone. Because Disney doesn't own DC yet, do they?
No, that's Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers probably will never let that go.
Right, but like DC already is terrible movies, and so they're not going to compete against Marvel anyway. And so now, I don't know, it just doesn't feel great.
Yeah, it's like the worst MCU movie was probably like Thor: The Dark World, and that still is probably like 30 times, 50 times better than like Suicide Squad.
Yes,
Hands
which
down.
was just hot trash,
Hands down.
dumpster fire.
Hands down. Yeah, absolutely. But I think part of the problem with DC too is theirs is all piecemealed out. Also, like of the ownership of different stuff is piecemealed out a lot, which is why Justice League took so long to happen, and it was still bad, and it's not good.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm excited by this merger only because we get to bring the family back together. But Lisa, you do make a very, very good point. It's going to be interesting to see what happens that's going to push some of these things down the road as far as competitiveness, as far as making quality content, because Disney makes good quality content, but they also do that because they're trying to be better than the other guy so that they bring people over. If they own everything, what's the incentive?
Yeah.
So I like that. Lindsay, what do you have for me this week?
So the trailer for Toy Story 4 dropped. Was it this week or last week?
Yes.
So the toys are back. It has been a hot minute since they've been around. And so how are we feeling about a fourth Toy Story movie? Because I've got feelings, but I want to hear what you guys think first.
What do you think, Lisa? Where are you at on this?
I saw something on Twitter that was talking about how it's the most millennial existential crisis ever to have a spork that's questioning its existence. I'm like,
yes.
Well, we are just doing a real deep mental dive here with this. It just went real deep, real fast. I like that it is going towards like that idea of, do you need to belong to one person, or could you like help lots of different people? Like with Woody in the trailer, I think they hit on that a little bit and whatever, but it just seems like, I don't know. I'm one of those people that thinks things should end on a high note, and I feel like we were good. Like Toy Story 3 was dark already, but it was really good. It was done. It was wrapped up. And now it's like, okay, we're back. All right. With a spork. Okay. All right. Here we go.
A spork that we call Forky. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And who questions his or her existence in this life. I don't know. It's a lot. Yeah.
I felt like Toy Story 3 was an emotional gut punch.
Yeah.
and then just barely kind of at the very end of the kind of the denouement gives you like and we're passing on. And it was the moment in Toy Story 3 where they all hold hands and they're facing their own mortality.
Yes.
And then it also was the part where Andy is like giving his toys away and was not intending to give Woody and Buzz away, and then kind of looks at it and is just like realizes he has to let go of his childhood. And that was symbolic of like the last of his childhood he's letting go. And I'm sitting there going like, I'm not crying. It's dust in my eye. Yeah. It's dust in my eye. And I'm with you. I think that was like perfect. When I did hear that they were going to come back with a fourth story, I went, first of all, this story just, I mean, it's got to be on point. The story just has to be on point, because if it's not, it's going to feel like nothing more than a cash grab. It's going to turn fans against the series in a whole. But here's the thing. Pixar knows how to make you care and have feelings for these inanimate objects and these toys. And that trailer's like, you know, he runs back into his old love and he's reconfronted with these ideas of like, you know, what do you do when like your purpose is kind of over? And, you know, how do you move on? I'm just like, oh gosh, like, no, like this is, I'm getting almost teary watching this thing. And my boys ask to watch it every day since I've shown it to them. I've seen it probably about 50 times already.
Wow. I just think, like, back to Lisa's point, I think Toy Story 3 was such a good ending and such a good, like, key, like, Andy is going off to college. He's given his toys away. And so now I feel like, how often are we going to do this? How long are these toys just going to be handed off to other people? So, like, either you end at 3 on a high note, or you do 400 of these movies until, like, the plastic breaks down. Because it just seems like, I don't know, like, I'm tired of watching Woody, like, have an existential crisis in every single movie. And, like, we've seen it all. And so, like, can't we have some new ideas and some new things? I don't know. I'm not loving Toy Story 4. I thought Toy Story 3 was a great way to end that one. So
now, I will say that they have done some of these short films because, you know, they hand the toys off to Bonnie. And so there's like the toy that time forgot. There was a Christmas one. I can't remember. No, the toy that time forgot was the Christmas one. There was a Halloween one. And then they did a couple like Small Fry, Partysaurus Rex, a few of these other like little kind of quick ones. And I've got to say, like, I do enjoy the whole kind of Bonnie thing. And I enjoy them in the short forms, like where they're about, you know, either 8 minutes or a little bit longer where they're about 30 minutes. But I'm kind of with you, Lindsay. Like, if this is like the last movie they do that's a full feature-length movie, I'm going to be okay as long as it's a good movie. But if they want to do some of the little shorts and, you know, they want to pay Tom Hanks and Tim Allen like buckets of money to talk for 8 minutes, my kids will watch it.
Right. I think that's what gets me in the feels too, is Tom Hanks. Like, he's America's dad and I love him the most. And he's
a national treasure.
He is. And so I just, like, as soon as you hear his voice as Woody, you're like, all right, what do you have to say? Let's see it. Like, I don't want to, but I need to hear it because it's Tom Hanks telling me. So I'm like, all right, I'll try.
Have you guys seen the stills from the Mr. Rogers movie he's doing? No. I'm so excited.
Yes.
He is Mr. Rogers,
gosh,
and I'm
thrilled.
I want to watch that so bad.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
I actually use Tom Hanks passing as like an example of something to like talk about, like, when this happens. My wife's like, don't you dare say that. You take that back right now. I was like, no, it's not happening. I'm like, I'm just saying, you know, knock on wood, if time, you know, happens. And she's like, stop.
Doesn't.
I'm like, okay.
No, it does not. No, it
so
will not happen to him.
The Fortress of Nerditude is really popular for predicting and calling things, but that is not an official Fortress of Nerditude prediction.
No.
I predict Tom Hanks lives forever.
Yes.
See, there you go. Done. Stamped.
There we go.
Yes.
It's official.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, Lisa, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I also have a trailer this week. It is the Stranger Things 3, season 3 trailer. Yeah. And I really like that. Well, first of all, I like being back at Stranger Things, but that they're having it drop on July 4th. I think that's fun. I really like that Americana thing that they're going for with that. So,
yes.
Yeah, like Lindsay, I have some thoughts, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first.
Doesn't it feel like season 2 was like a century ago. Like I'm
It
sitting
does.
here like trying to remind
Yep.
myself what even happened in season 2. So it was fall 2017 was season 2. So I'm excited.
yeah.
I'm excited. 11 has hair, and I always
She
really
does.
enjoy it when 11 has hair. So
Yeah.
the trailer looks super fun. It's creepy. The new monster is creepy. I'm here for it. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Yes.
I kind of liked it when 11 was more of the Shorn look. That's maybe just my bias because I'm no longer able to grow a full head of hair. That being aside, that's like, inconsequential. What I loved about this trailer and what I love about trailers in general is that the idea is they want to hype you up and they want to pump you up. Now, the best way, in my opinion, and my opinion is what matters here right now, is that you have to have the right music.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
they start off with Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home.
Yes.
Because you see Dustin coming home after like summer camp, and then you realize that they're just pranking him, and 11 is messing with him, and then they shut that off. And then they switch over to the Who's Teenage Wasteland. Both amazing picks. And Teenage Wasteland, I think, is perfect because it's really trying to capture what they're showing in this trailer, is that these kids are starting to grow up now. They're starting to get a little older. They're going to be maturing more. And the song choice is perfect. Here's the thing, though, that at the heart of Stranger Things that I truly love. This show is literally Dungeons and Dragons in video format.
Yes.
The fact that they play that and it's, that they kind of show that and they talk about that is literally a nod and a wink to this is actually what you're just watching, people. So if you think I am not a Dungeons and Dragons fan or I couldn't get on board with that, I never tried it. If you're watching the show, that is literally what it is. It's collaborative storytelling and it's monsters. And this show is beautifully doing it, set in the 80s.
Yes.
And this show actually made me go out and start playing D&D, and I'm dungeon mastering a group right now because of this TV show.
I love it. I love it.
Anyway, I love this. I'm on board. July 4th can't come quick enough.
I'm also really excited. Like, I felt like the kid actors got super overexposed. Like, I still get like an eye roll immediately when I see Millie Bobby Brown, I think is her name. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, I'm just like, ugh. So I'm excited. I haven't seen them in a while, and I feel like I've had a little palate cleanse, and I don't have to deal with the Stranger Things kids. But Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what they're doing so well is because there's a cultural connection to Stranger Things 3 of like, what the internet wants it to be and like the memes it's become and whatever. And I feel like they lean into that a little bit, but not enough that it loses its integrity. So the stuff with like Steve obviously is such a highlight of the show for the internet. And like that scene with him and Dustin at the ice cream shop of like, it's just really
so
great.
good.
And how they lean into that a little bit, but then they still have that dark undercurrent of like, things aren't healthy, things aren't good here. So there's that toxic situation that's still brewing, and it has that really good blend of coming of age, but then it adds that fantasy element on top of it, and then it has that nostalgia, but it's not cheesy. It's just it's so well done. I love Stranger Things so much.
Can we get a Steve and Dustin spinoff?
I would watch it. I would watch it all the time.
I want that. It's like just the two of them hanging out, talking life, talking girls, talking about movies. Like, I want that.
Steve is a national treasure. I'm going
He
on
is
record.
also, put him with Tom Hanks.
I also have to say, I'm super glad that they showed the creepy older brother of Max, the guy like in the second season who like, I have to keep this family friendly. He cologned himself in a very awkward manner on film, and I was like, no, this guy,
Yeah.
I love that he is now a lifeguard at the pool, like leering at all the women because it's so creepy in and of itself.
Yes.
But it makes me laugh because I'm like, it's meant to be awkward and it's doing its
You are
job
cringing
well.
so hard watching it. Yep,
Yes.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. I don't like that guy, but I like what they're doing with his character.
Yeah, because we all know that guy. We have all known that guy. All of us have. Yeah.
It's the guy that always, I don't have this, okay, maybe once or twice this happened, but it's that guy that looks at you and is like, he gives you the Joey, hey, how you doing?
Yep.
But then like, he continues to look at you, and then he licks his lips, and you're like, no, stop,
Hard pass. Yep.
And for listeners, if you don't have one of those people in your life, you are that person. So just
Ooh.
Rein it in.
Sorry, super friends. That's real truth right there.
And that was said from all the love in my cold, dead heart.
Just trying to help you be better.
Yeah.
That's literally like when we talk poker and my buddies and I are playing. It's like, if you can't spot the fish at the table, you're the fish. Yeah. Okay, so I have one last thing.
Yeah.
And this is like super nerdy, and this is, I have publicly stated on this show a few times, if this comes true, because this is just a rumor, but if this comes true, I think the fanboy in me is going to hit levels that's probably never been seen since I was maybe like 11. So we know that the Star Wars Episode 9 is going to wrap up, and we're going to be done with the Skywalker saga. We're going to be done with Finn, Rey, and Poe. But we know that there's 3 other movies that are in the works, and we know that they're going to be done by the Game of Thrones guys, David Benioff and D.B. Wise. They have stated that they're going to go back in time to the Old Republic. And of course I hear this and I immediately get the squee, it's just like, oh, please find a way to make Knights of the Old Republic a movie. This was a video game that came out literally like 2002, 2003 on the Xbox. I didn't look up the exact date, but I know it was roughly around that time. And it dealt with kind of what was going on in the galaxy about 4,000 years before the Skywalkers. It's a great story. It's a great way to keep the Star Wars feel, but not be tied into we got to talk about Death Stars and we got to talk about R2-D2 and C-3PO. We can have completely different characters, completely different droids. We can have, all these new planets and still tell compelling stories.
Right.
And the fact that the guys that run Game of Thrones are going to be doing this has me extremely excited, because I have such faith in them to take something that's established and find a way to make it fresh for a movie or for television in the case of Game of Thrones. So Lisa, you're definitely you're nodding your head. You look like you're agreeing with me. Have you played the Knights of the Old Republic? Was that in your wheelhouse?
I have not. No, I'm familiar with the game, but I have not played it. I never had an Xbox, so I did not play it.
How excited, though, are you about more Star Wars films outside of the Skywalkers?
As soon as I saw, to distance themselves from the Skywalkers, I was like, please, because one of my favorite Star Wars things, which is tied to the Skywalkers, obviously, but is the Clone Wars. And what I really like about the Clone Wars series is that it's different, because the Star Wars lore is so rich with everything, and we just get stuck on kind of the same repetitive stuff. And I really do like the idea of going back, before the Galactic Order, before any of that stuff. And I know that they've kind of talked about the Knights of Ren currently in the episodes that are now. So I think you're right. Yeah. Having the Knights kind of shout out tie in there would be really smart too. But I would love this. And you're right. Having the Game of Thrones showrunners on there, I think, is really nice. Just knowing what they can create aesthetically and applying that to a Star Wars universe is so exciting for me. So exciting.
Oh, love it. Lindsay, where are you at? Are you familiar with the source material?
Well, I really have been waiting for you guys to get to me, because I am a Star Wars expert. If you have listened to our show, you would know that I have seen a total of 0 Star Wars movies.
Right.
And now it's like a source of pride. I know that probably that's not a popular opinion, but I feel like I'm one of the few people in America who hasn't seen one. And so now it's like a thing. It's like my thing at a party. I haven't seen a Star Wars movie. I go to really cool parties. Let's be honest. I guess if you guys are excited, I'm excited, because I don't know anything, but it feels like all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of Star Wars movies, and how many is too many, and when are we going to get to the point where it's like, okay, we're kind of over this? And are
Lindsay,
there going to be dragons?
Never.
Because if the Game of Thrones guys are writing these Star Wars movies and there's going to be dragons, I might even watch one.
There might be.
Mine acts are kind of dragon
That's what
looking.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of, the Fantastic
No, not dragon looking. I want dragons. I want actual legit dragons. Don't tell me something
not
looks
wyverns.
Like
Stay out of here.
Yes, hold on. Before I check myself, I have Star Wars cred. There are crate dragons on the planet of Tatooine.
Oh, there you go, Lindsay.
All right.
Now-
well, now we have to go.
That could be more kind of like the kimono dragon, where it's more lizard-like and doesn't fly and breathe fire, but it does make a noise that Obi-Wan Kenobi mimics to scare off the sand people.
Okay. This is the closest I've ever been to even considering watching a Star Wars movie. So, way to go.
I was super close to revoking my own fanboy card there on Star Wars.
You have maintained it. You're still good.
Ah, man. I know that a few of the Super Friends literally would message me literally on Thursday, be like, come on, Crate Dragons, Tatooine, get with it. I'm like, oh, come on, guys.
Right. So when you said, Lindsay, when is enough going to be enough? Girl, that Star Wars fan base is so nuts.
And
never,
I'm not
never,
saying that like
never enough.
Stop it. But it's like, are we going to get to the point where it's like there is no more here?
No.
Okay. No. Because isn't
Here's the
Rian
thing.
Johnson making more now, or is that the Skywalker stuff?
That's Skywalker stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Rian Johnson did The Last Jedi, and he was going to do Episode 9, and then that got pulled from him, and now it's back to good old J.J. Abrams.
Yes.
Rian Johnson, though, is in talks to do other Star Wars movies.
So I feel like, do you oversaturate if you're releasing more than one Star Wars movie a year? I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, and here's where I'm going to go with this, because we have seen movie franchises that have been beaten to death.
Yeah. Right.
I'm thinking of you, Fast and the Furious.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm thinking of you, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes.
I'm thinking of you, Transformers. If Michael Bay is attached to it, it's going to be beaten to death. I'm putting that out there.
There's going to be lots of explosions, a lot of cutscenes. Yes.
Yeah.
And Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg, Shia LaBeouf. I mean,
You know.
here's the thing. I know that there's people that are going to be diehards that are going to say, you can never have enough. But I know some people in this community that listen to this podcast that say, hey, the Marvel fatigue is starting to wear. We're getting 1, 2, sometimes 3 a year. And then I know people that will adamantly fanboy out and defend it and say, that's not a thing. I'm totally cool. Keep them rolling. But I do think that it's like the TV show Survivor. I love Survivor. Watch it every week. I've never missed an episode. We're like on the 39th season of that. We get 2 a year. But the numbers have slowly been declining. I mean, it still pulls in millions and like 7 million viewers saw like an episode a week or 2 ago. And they said that was like the lowest it's been in a while.
Wow.
But still, that is 7 million people tuning into CBS to watch a television show on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
That's still a lot of people. That's bigger numbers than a lot of shows get. So I think you will get a steady decline, and eventually they'll pull the plug. The sad thing is going to be this, and this is what typically happens. The creative content, the creative juices, if you will dry up long before they pull the plug.
True.
And everything that's going to be like the last 4 movies, you're going to hear people say they weren't that good.
Yeah.
It was all tired. It was all rote. We've heard it a million times. That will happen, and it will be the sad, slow death of the franchise.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
I hate it,
Yes.
but it'll happen.
And that's, like as a not Star Wars watcher, I do have people in my life who do love Star Wars. And like, I just don't want to watch them just slowly like, I used to love these movies and now yeah.
Some of us have already experienced that moment. We call it the prequels.
We do call it that. We sure
I'm
do.
just saying.
I've heard that,
Yeah.
Now, Rogue One and The Last Jedi, Rogue One and The Force Awakens helped. Solo and The Last Jedi, not as much, but remains to be seen what happens with Episode 9.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on, because I could unfortunately talk about Star Wars till I'm blue in the face. And if you know me very well, you know that's not a hard stretch. So, last week I had a conversation with Patrick Novosel. We talked about the Avengers Endgame trailer, and we asked our super friends where they're at on the hype train, how hyped they are for this movie now that the full trailer's kind of released and we're only like a month-ish out. Lindsey, Lisa, have either of you seen the Avengers Endgame trailer?
I don't know if I've seen the trailer because
I'm
still dealing with like my emotions from the movie. So I don't know that I've seen the trailer yet. Lisa, have you?
No, and here's why. Because I'm going in blind. Like, I
Ooh.
don't want to watch it because I feel like one of two things happens. Either you see things in the trailer that don't end up making the film, or you see too much from the trailer and it skews it. So I want to go in with a blank slate. I mean, we can talk about it, but I just don't want to see it with my eyeballs because then I feel like it's different. Yeah.
So I love that you say that, Lisa, because I had a lot of people that have told me that they don't want to go in blind. Patrick Novosel actually was not going to watch it. And then he said, oh, this is what we're talking about. I was like, yeah, is that a problem? He's like, I will break my rule and I will watch it for you. And I was like, Patrick. And Patrick's a good friend. And I was like, I feel the love. I feel the love. Here's the thing about this. It literally is 2.5 minutes full of, I'm going to hit you in the emotions.
Right.
I'm going to show you just a little bit, but not really give you enough to make conclusions one way or another on anything that's really going to happen.
Right.
And knowing the Russo brothers who direct this and the fact that they did some big misleads in the Avengers Infinity War trailer, I don't know that I can expect any of what I saw in that movie.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm totally cool with you coming with that take because that's legit like a great reason not to watch it.
Yep. It was Infinity War. I was like, you know what? It wasn't even worth my time because you do. I think it's a great idea for them for marketing because it gets people talking. It gets people all hyped up and, foaming at the mouth about it or whatever. But yeah, for me personally as a moviegoer, I'm like, I will talk about it. I will engage with it, but I don't want to see it because I want it to be fresh. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go and read some of the answers from our super friends that wrote into us this week. We'll start over with our email like we always do every week, and that is fortofnerd@gmail.com. And we have Peter Christensen. Not much of a surprise there. Peter emails us every single week. Clockwork. And I love it. Peter, keep it up because I love your writing. He says, Dear Nerds, I also love Alan Tudyk. I first met him as Heath Ledger's angry squire in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
He's doing some more voiceover work in some upcoming films that we love. He says, I take heart in the James Gunn rehiring. Hopefully the knee-jerk overreactions to angry mobs will go the way of the Punch the Monkey banner ads, and there can be a clear path to redemption for when people are attacked with gross elements of their past. I love the fact that Disney has rehired James Gunn, and they know that what he did was so many years in the past, and people can change. I love redemption and I love second chances. I'm all about that.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad Peter's excited. I'm still excited. Like I'm still over the moon about this.
Yes.
He goes on to say, I watched the Avengers Endgame trailer on the bus to work and I got so psyched. I felt like I was going to jump through the roof of the bus and start flipping over cars on the freeway. There are already lots of delightful memes about Thanos freaking out when he sees Thor and Captain Marvel showing up glowing. So excited and wondering how tall the inevitable statue of the Russo brothers is going to be. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
Can we talk about Firefly? I know we're talking about, Endgame, but can we just talk about Firefly for a minute and have a moment of silence?
Or for like the next hour?
Yeah. Can we have a moment of silence for that TV show that I missed wholeheartedly? I think I sold the DVDs. Oh, that was a good one. All right, continue. Endgame. We're back.
No, you brought up Firefly. Let's finish that thought.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I love that show. Like one of the saddest days of my life was when it got canceled. So it's fine. You guys think I'm not a nerd, but I have nerd things about me.
I'm a brown coat forever.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. For sure.
And I gotta say, anything Nathan Fillion is in, I watch.
I know.
Agreed.
Anything.
Agreed. Except I think I've hit saturation level with Nathan Fillion. I don't watch his new show. Do you guys watch it?
No,
I'm not seeing the new one. But
all right, I do love him and he makes me laugh. But I'm like, I'm kind of over you being a cop.
Yeah.
There is some talk about him potentially doing the Uncharted movie that could happen.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, please. That is perfect typecasting in the best possible way. It is
absolutely. Because he is such a caricature already. And it's like,
yes.
He is, absolutely. He is made for that role. Yes.
Plus, the outfits that Nathan Drake wears in those games look so much like Captain Mal.
Yeah, they do. They do.
That'd be great.
Yes.
You can't take the skies from me, but we can go back over onto Twitter and read some more answers to our question.
Okay.
So over on Twitter, you can reach us at Fort of Nerd. We have Burn at _Excelsior, which is at Dantes_Belmont. He says, haven't and won't watch the trailer. Those things are evil and deceiving and can it be April 26th already?
Yes, same. All my feelings, yes.
I was gonna say that was almost word for word.
I'm with you. I wish. However,
Yes.
I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish it was April 26th.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes.
All right, the Dragon's Lair at Turpin Rich says, I'm hyped to see how they use the quantum realm to fix everything. I know it's going to be impactful. I know it's going to have some sort of something, and I think the suits they briefly showed in that trailer has something to do with it. I won't know. It could be a red herring. It could have nothing to do with quantum realm. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. April 26th.
Yeah.
You know where we'll be.
Yes.
I've tried to speculate so much on this show about this, and in the end, I know that maybe 50% will be right. Maybe. Skinny Matt Knight at Skinny Matt K says, hype meter is 0.
Ooh.
I've seen Iron Man, Captain America, and Guardians of the Galaxy. They're good films. I just can't get into the whole MCU thing.
Oh.
So here's my take on this, Matt. And I know you and we're friends, and so I'm going to be very gentle. Buddy, that is okay. You stand your ground. Do not let the bullies on the internet beat you down for that take.
Yeah.
If it's not your thing, it's not your thing.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of sci-fi and fantasy and nerd and pop culture. It's a huge tent. If you're into something over on one side but not on the other, don't worry about it. You do you. I got your back. Now, that all being said, you're totally wrong, and I love you. But you're okay by me.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I love you, Matt. You know that. We're good friends. And okay, the last place we're going to go, because we don't have any voicemails, which is kind of good, because I wasn't prepped for that, is over on Facebook. So we are over on Facebook, facebook.com/forwardofnerd. That's where you can reach us. And we've got a response from Caleb Albers, good friend of the show. He says, I think it goes without saying, especially for me, that the hype is sitting around 20 out of 10. I am so pumped for this movie. You two last week had me worried that you forgot Groot got snapped. Which he literally did message me that day, like an hour after it came out. And I was like, no, I remembered. It was just spur of the moment. It was like 2 hours into the podcast, and I'm old. Forgive me. He says, a couple things about Hawkeye in this with him training his daughter. There's some rumors going around that since we don't know her name, she could be Kate Bishop, which to comic nerds is who we know takes over the mantle of Hawkeye. Now, obviously, her last name couldn't be Bishop in the movies, but I think it'd be super cool if they made her Kate Bishop Barton. It's a bit of a change from the comics, but I'd consider a very welcome change. Something else I want out of this movie is for more reactions towards Rocket. I don't think people freaked out enough over a talking raccoon on Earth. Either that, or he needs to run into a raccoon. Just something along those lines.
Oh my gosh, I want that so bad.
It's a good point. It is a good point. Yes.
Right? Like, because everyone calls him, like a raccoon and, whatnot, and he doesn't know what that is. That would be, like, gold. Like, just genius.
Yes.
Do that.
Yes.
He goes on to say, of course, Hulk needs a rematch. I was so upset seeing him get wrecked by Thanos, and I feel he deserves a rematch where he lays the hurt on that purple baddie. I have more thoughts, but I'm going to leave it at that for the time's sake. And then with how much I love the show, keep up the good work, Krypton, which is me, by the way.
Yeah.
Caleb, I know you're like a massive MCU fanboy. I love your take on this. I am with you all the way. You know my love for the Incredible Hulk. I think that we definitely did not see him at his finest in Infinity War, and there needs to be a redemption story for Bruce Banner and the Hulk in this movie.
Agreed.
That is my hot take on that. That is all I've got on the social media this week. Thank you, Super Friends. I love interacting with you. I appreciate all your comments, questions, concerns, instant messages that you send to me, and let's keep up the good work. Now, If you are a fan of the show, if you listen regularly, there's 2 things you can do for the show to help us out. And by help us, I mean help me. 1, hit up that iTunes, give us that 5-star rating, give us a review. Man, just, you've been so positive and so loving. We love it. Keep it up. That is amazing. The other thing is, go tell your friends. If you hear something you like, tell a friend about it, because sharing is caring. And we've learned that from the Care Bears, and that still goes today.
Oh, Care Bears.
So, love the Care Bears. Except, maybe not so much as an adult, but as a kid, I loved them.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Loved them. So, Lisa, Lindsey, like I said, I listened to your show all the way through, listened to every single episode, and when we kind of get to this point in the podcast, we have a discussion about something. I thought it would be fun to do a version of your podcast where you talk about the best and the worst in things in your garbage and gold, except we're going to do it Fortress and Nerditude style.
Yes, please.
So we're going to talk about the worst of things, which is the Kryptonite. The Kryptonite is the bane of Superman, and somehow every single villain in Superman comics and movies somehow find pieces of meteorite from his home planet and have it.
Yep.
It's a garbage way to try to take down Supes. It's the only thing that can do it, so therefore it has to pop up, and it gets tired and old, and I'm just over it.
Yes.
So that's going to be our Kryptonite. Now, the positives. This is what I'm going to call the super serum. This is what is engineered by Germans, made in America, and makes Captain America who he is. It takes the small, insignificant, but yet big-hearted Steve Rogers and pumps him up to wonderful proportions and makes him our beloved hero. So that is going to be our gold. That'll be the super serum.
Got it.
Kryptonite and super serum.
Got it.
Okay.
I love the fact that I literally just blatantly ripped off your idea and made it Fortress Nerditude approved.
Did we trademark our idea, Lisa? I'm really concerned right now. I think we need to pay us
hope so.
royalties.
We did. Oh yeah, no, we did. You'll get a bill. Don't worry.
You'll get it.
An invoice.
Check is in the mail. Check is in the mail. You'll get it. It's postmarked, but you'll be fine. All right. So I thought it would be fun if we could talk about 3 different categories tonight.
Yep.
And those categories are movie remakes. 1, because I've professed so loudly on this podcast that I'm not a fan of movie remakes.
Right.
So I thought that'd be interesting to talk about. 2 would be streaming services. There's a lot going on in the streaming services world right now, a lot of announcements, big things happening, so I thought that would be timely to talk about. And then the last I thought would be fun would be Steven Spielberg movies. And Steven Spielberg is a man after my heart in most cases. I love what he does, but he's not all the way, super serum all the time. There's some kryptonite lurking there. So,
Be true. Yes.
so let's start with movie remakes. Let's start with the Kryptonite. Lindsey, what is your Kryptonite in the movie remakes?
So my Kryptonite garbage movie remake is the Pink Panther, released in 2006, starring the lovely, and I do adore, Steve Martin. And so I wasn't a huge fan of the original Pink Panther movie. I think I saw it too young and didn't understand the humor. This is what happens. She usually picks this part out where I'm like, stop it, listen to what I'm saying before you start arguing with me. I think I saw it too young and I just didn't understand it. And so then, I don't know, it just never really clicked for me. And so I love Steve Martin. I love trying to do something, but it seems like it just tried to stay too close to the original. It wasn't written well. There is only one Peter Sellers. And so, it doesn't, I feel like the sense of humor for Pink Panther, it doesn't really transcend time very well. Like it kind of feels really dated. And like, I love Monty Python. Like I'm good with older comedy things, but there's something about the Peter Sellers stuff that just doesn't translate for me. So that is my Kryptonite movie remake, Pink Panther.
You know, the interesting thing is you brought up Monty Python, and every time I love Monty Python. But you brought up that, and it made me think, every time I think of Pink Panther, I always think, and I'd have to go back and check that, it feels to me like it's British humor or some sort of like foreign humor. It doesn't have the traditional like American humor flair to it.
Right.
And so putting Steve Martin, who really comes across as an American comedian through and through, I felt like that casting just was not right.
Well, don't you think they tried to make Steve Martin into Peter Sellers instead of letting Steve Martin
For
be
sure.
Steve Martin? Because, like, I would totally go watch Steve Martin be Steve Martin for 90 minutes. Absolutely. So it just felt like just a misguided all the way around movie.
Yep. I like that take.
Thank you.
I like that a lot. Lisa, what do you have? What's your kryptonite for movie remakes?
My kryptonite for movie remakes is the Tim Burton envisioning of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Ooh.
Because I do really love the original. It had that whimsical but a little bit of weird. And I typically love Tim Burton. Like, I'm all about Tim Burton's weird vision for stuff, his darkness. I love it. And I do think that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory had some of that in it, but it just felt wrong. Like, he just did not land at all. And it just, the whole thing, start to finish, was just real cringe. Just not good. Not good.
Yeah. What was Johnny Depp doing with his voice in that one?
I don't know.
It felt like he was like really like trying to talk from like the back of his throat and keep his teeth closed.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was weird.
It was
Wilder
very
any
off-putting.
day.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So that's interesting because I used to love Tim Burton back in the like old Tim Burton days.
Yes.
And then it's like any preview for anything with Tim Burton, I'm 3 seconds into it and I go, this is a Tim Burton film. I just know it.
He has a thumbprint. Yeah.
And my wife's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just watch. Watch. And then it develops and it unfolds and it's like directed by Tim Burton. I'm like, I told you.
Yes. He has a very signature style for sure.
Yeah. So my kryptonite actually is a Tim Burton film as well.
Gosh.
It is 2001's Planet of the Apes.
Really?
Yes. Oh, this was hot garbage. It was trash.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I love the original Planet of the Apes, the old Charlton Heston, because now, granted, it is like a 1960s movie, so if you watch it today, you have to understand that movies were a lot slower paced.
Yeah.
And the big reveal at the end and the plot twist is just iconic. Now we jump ahead to 2001, and we've got Mark Wahlberg in this thing, and it loosely kind of follows the original, but they get there, and it's kind of what you expect. But then when they do the whole plot twist at the end, and they come back, and he gets back to Earth, and he wasn't on Earth the whole time, but then when he does get back to Earth, the Earth that he left is now controlled by the monkeys. The movie for me was just hot garbage through and through, and the plot twist was so predictable, and it was one of those things where I went, oh, please don't ever make another Planet of the Apes movie with Tim Burton ever again.
Yeah.
I wanted so much more. This was a bad remake. This is why I'm totally against remakes. Yeah. Don't mess with the originals. Like I had a very, very hot take on Ghostbusters. And I know that there was a lot of negativity where people were breaking it down along sexism lines. I was like, no.
Right.
That's fine. I don't care that they want to redo it with women. My problem is I don't want them to redo it because it's comedy gold. It is genius through and through.
Right.
You just don't touch a classic like that. Now, that's my opinion. I don't make movies. I don't print money like they do. So I know why they did it. But my hot take was just don't touch it. It's pure. We already had a sequel to it that was a cash grab that I'd love to forget.
Yeah.
I don't want to see anymore. And I know they're talking about bringing back, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray to make a third one. And no, I'm against that as well.
Good.
No.
Good. Yeah. It needs to just be done. It needs to be done.
So that's how I was with Planet of the Apes. I was really hesitant in 2001. I was not happy about it. I must say, though, that the other Planet of the Apes movies that did come out, about 10 years later, those were good. Those were different. They weren't trying to retell the exact same story, but then out twist the original.
Right.
So
yeah.
Agreed.
Yes.
That's my kryptonite for movie remakes.
Yeah, that's a bad one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Lindsay, what do you have for your super serum?
Okay, my super serum movie remake is Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11 released in 2001. The original Ocean's 11 was a Rat Pack movie of the same name, released in 1960. So, directed by Steven Soderbergh, it is full of movie stars. George Clooney, Elliot Gould, Carl Reiner, Julia Roberts, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, Casey Affleck, Andy Garcia, and more. It is jam-packed. It's fast. It's fun. It looks kind of vintagey. And, like, I remember the first time watching it going, I do not know what is happening. Or like, I know what's happening. Oh, I was wrong. It's so twisty and fun, and it doesn't take itself very seriously. And Brad Pitt eats the whole time. It is just, it's just fun. Like, it's not going to win any awards. It's not changing movie industry, but it is so fun just to watch.
A good heist movie is just
Yes.
so fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the sequel's great. Even when they rebooted with all women, also great. Just good, good movies.
Yep. I love that.
Thanks.
I love that.
I'm gonna go watch it.
You get extra Fortress of Nerditude points for that take. Love it.
Makes up for my Star Wars takes.
Yeah, you're even now. You're good.
That's all I wanted.
What about you, Lisa? What do you got for your super serum and movie remakes?
Yeah, my super serum is The Thing, which I did not really realize was a remake, but I was doing my research for this. And what I think makes it gold, obviously, other than the fact that The Thing is an incredible movie, it's like one of those really well done 80s horror movies that's just built on suspense and supernatural and that paranoia. Kurt Russell and
Kurt Russell
with
in
his
the 80s.
glorious hair. Oh, yes, all of it is so great.
I'm still jealous about that hair, just saying.
But it's got that paranoia vibe. It's so well done. But what I think is most impressive about The Thing being a remake is that it's a horror movie remake. And I think it might be the only horror movie remake that's ever been good, right? Like, I don't think that you can remake horror movies very well at all, and they did, and it's
they try.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort.
Oh, they try. How many times have we seen Jason and Nightmare on Elm Street rebooted? Halloween. Yeah, I mean, ugh.
Yep.
True.
I love that as well. I love that as well. Okay, now we did not talk beforehand because I wanted to keep this completely on the level. I am in total agreement with my pick with one of you.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's going to be Lisa. It's fine.
It's got to be Lindsay because you got extra nerd cred.
Lindsay is the person that I am on board with. Yes. It is Ocean's 11. So here's what I think makes a good remake. If you take a movie that was not very good to begin with, or was maybe just a small independent film, or something that was just didn't release wide, or even sometimes you take a foreign film and you can redo it and make it for a big, broad audience. I think those are the best remakes you can possibly do. Remaking big, popular franchises is a recipe for failure.
Absolutely.
So, Ocean's 11 is a complete remake of the old Rat Pack, like you said. Here's what I love, Lindsay, is that Steven Soderbergh takes you on a journey where he's literally trying to keep you like one step ahead of like a magician's trick, right? Like if you watch a magician, the whole time he's showing you this and he's giving you an idea and you know that you're behind. You know that there's something you're missing, and at the end he's going to spring it on you and that's going to be the big reveal. Yeah. With this movie, he tries to carefully craft this so you think you're always one step ahead. That as the viewer, you know what's going on. Yeah. But then it gets to the end and you realize, no, you are not. You are a step behind. You've been a step behind the whole time. You never knew it. And it's beautifully done. I got to say that this movie to me is not only fun, but it feels like it's a masterclass in storytelling.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love it. So I'm on board. Not saying that Lisa's pick is wrong here, because it's not. It just happens to be that
it's inferred that Lisa is wrong, and I feel great about it.
I just happen to choose the same as Lindsay this week. That's all I'm saying. All right. So if we're recapping our Kryptonite, Lindsay, your Kryptonite was
the Pink Panther.
Pink Panther. Lindsay's was.
Mine was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then mine was Planet of the Apes. And then over on the Super Serum, Lindsay and I are both on board with Ocean's 11.
That's right.
And Lisa was The Thing.
Correct.
Which I really want to go watch The Thing again.
It's so good.
That is such a good movie.
It's so good.
And Kurt Russell. Anything Kurt Russell in the 80s. Just give me Escape from New York any day of the week and I'll watch that.
Best dystopian movie, I would say.
It's so good. Although landing on the Twin Towers now, watching that gets a little rough.
Yeah, it's
just saying. Okay, so let's move over to our second topic, streaming services. Let's start with Lisa. Lisa, what is your kryptonite for streaming services?
Oh, I need a clarification here. So is it streaming services in general, or am I picking from the streaming services?
Ooh.
The way I looked at this was any service that you can pay to get their content or content that they curate, either through a website or through an app on something like a Roku or an Apple TV. So obviously the big ones would be the Hulu and the Netflixes, but there are other ones out there. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to lead the witness.
Right, got you. Okay. Well then, I know what mine is. My kryptonite of streaming services is Tidal, Jay-Z's music streaming service.
Ooh.
It is.
I mean, I think you're right, but how...
Most garbage.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. You're going up against Queen Bee.
I love Beyonce. I do love Beyonce.
And
but
we love Jay-Z. We just don't like his streaming service.
I don't know that I love Jay-Z, but that you can say that. I don't know that I would co-sign that, but I don't... Yeah, it's just one of those things that's just like anything where it's exclusive to something, but then it's also really spendy to get into it, and it's like it's just such a small market. It's so niche, but then they also try to make it like it's a big deal. It's just
they put that threshold bar really high.
Yes, and then we're supposed to all jump at it, and it's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, it's like, you have the money for this, Jay-Z.
Yeah,
I got 99 problems, and paying for your title service is one of them.
Yes, and I can't stream Lemonade still. Man, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it isn't on YouTube
that's my
yet?
kryptonite.
Someone hasn't
I mean, yeah, but I want to stream it on like my music services, not on the YouTube. Yeah. So, yeah,
that is a legit take for kryptonite.
Thank you.
I like that. All right, Lindsay, what do you got?
Okay, so this one, I feel like I have to do a disclaimer because I picked it because I have real feelings about it. So, I am a big fan of Hallmark movies. I really am. I really love like a Hallmark Christmas movie. And I hate Christmas and everything about it, but I do. There's something about the cheesiness of a Hallmark Christmas movie that I love. And so my kryptonite streaming service is Hallmark Movies Now. Do you guys even know this is a thing?
No. Oh, I'm aware. My wife tries to convince me to pay for it every Christmas, and I resist.
No, don't do it, because most of the Christmas movies are not on it. So, Hallmark is like all about their Christmas and their seasonal. So like seasonal movies, like they're going all year now, where every month, every week, I think there's a new one. And so.
Really?
I don't know if that's true. I didn't look it up. It just feels like it deep in my heart. And I'm okay with it, except if you pay for Hallmark Movies Now, none of those movies are on there. Or if they are, they're like 4 or 5 years old. And so the fun ones that you love, that you're watching like over Thanksgiving when you're supposed to be hanging out with your family, and instead you're watching Hallmark Christmas movies because that's better than being with your family. I do love my family, but still. They're not on there. And so it's like 80s like movie of the week. Do you remember when Hallmark had movies of the week on like network TV? It's those. So if you want to watch Sarah Plain and Tall, sign up for Hallmark Movie Now. If you want to watch like right now Winnie Cooper Hallmark Christmas movies, don't do it. They're not there. So it's a complete misdirect.
So, starting around Thanksgiving, my DVR in the living room becomes full of Hallmark Christmas movies. My wife watches these things and records them. We get to a point where I'm like, honey, you got 36 Hallmark Christmas movies. It's now February. Can I start deleting some of these? She's like, no, I'm still going to watch them. I'm like, wait. You're still going to watch these Hallmark Christmas movies like in May when you get to them? She's like, I'd like to. It's like, oh, she loves that stuff. She always wants to buy the service. And I'm just like, no, you've got a DVR full of them. You got terabytes of these movies on the DVR. You don't need to stream them to your phone so you can watch them in bed at 2 a.m. when you need that fix.
I feel like your wife and I would be best friends. And I would even tell her, don't sign up for it. But Hallmark Channel is showing Christmas movies currently. So Friday night was Mingle All the Way at 7 p.m., in case you all were wondering. I did not watch it, but...
I wasn't wondering.
I think I may have seen pieces of that because that title sounds very familiar.
It's a good one. So
No,
that is my kryptonite.
probably not.
I mean, good in comparison to the others.
Yeah, it's a good kryptonite pick for sure. When my wife listens to this and she realizes that we're bagging on Hallmark Christmas movies, there's a couch behind me that you can probably see.
Super comfortable.
It's very comfortable, and I'll probably spend a couple nights. Anyway, no, I'm just teasing. She wouldn't kick me out of bed for that. Many other things, yes, but not that. So my Kryptonite streaming service, probably not going to come as a big surprise to a plethora of the superfans, is CBS's All Access.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a fan of the fact that we have now a network broadcast television that decided, hey, I'm going to set up my own streaming service and charge users. And on top of that, it's fine because there's nothing on it that's an equality for the first couple of years because it comes out in like 2014. It's announced in October. Then in like 2015 April, it like finally like hits Roku boxes and then Chromecast. And eventually it kind of goes a couple other places. However, in 2017, though, CBS announced that our new Star Trek series that they were bringing out is only going to be available on All Access, that they're not going to put it on CBS. They put the pilot on CBS, and then they made you go over and pay the $10 a month to get it. I am a hardcore Trek fan, and the fact that I had to go and have to pay for a service to see a single series on it, I said no, and I refused to pay for it that way. Now, I have seen the first season of Star Trek Discovery. It is amazing, and I love it, and I'm excited to catch up on the second season once it's done, and I can get it by other means, but I will not... I will not support a network broadcast television station that does this.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a Hulu or a Netflix, you're curating a whole bunch of content. That I get.
Yeah.
But putting one show and one show only there, it just rankles my ire. But I will say to their defense that they had like literally no viewers on this streaming service. Then, like the week before Star Trek, they got something like 1.5 or 2 million people that subscribed to it, like immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then, of course, just this last year, the only way you could see the Grammys streaming was on CBS All Access, which I was okay to pass on. I also was on a cruise, so it wasn't that big of a deal at the time. But I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of this. Don't put stuff that should be on network access television behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm with you. And choosing Star Trek was absolutely their way to get people to subscribe to it.
Oh.
There was no other show that they could have
For
put on
sure.
that would have mattered. Yeah.
And it also felt like, and this is coming from the nerd in me, it's like, hey, let's go beat up the nerds a little bit. Let's give them a swirly. They'll pay for it.
And they did.
Seriously. Flashbacks of junior high, the big bully corporation taking me into the bathroom, putting my head in the toilet.
Yes.
Don't do that. This is 2019. Everyone's woke. Get off your high horse.
Oh, no.
I literally just used woke for the first time on the podcast. I don't know what's going on.
Congratulations. God, we could
I'm
be here
sorry.
for this.
Part of history. I feel like we brought that. Like we brought the energy
very,
that
very
encouraged
much.
woke.
Oh, just
Don't know how I feel about that.
I literally have so many feelings about the CBS All Access stuff that I have to remind myself that I'm trying to keep this as a positive podcast most of the time, and
Yep.
we need to move on. So the Hallmark
Movies
channels
Now is what it is.
Hallmark Movies Now.
Yes.
I knew it was like a now or a go or a plus or something, but
Yep.
Hallmark Movies Now, the title music service, and then the CBS All Access. Those are the kryptonites of the streaming service, according to us. Now, let's go over to the super serum. Lisa, what is your super serum of streaming services?
Yes, my Super Serum streaming service is going to be HBO Go because HBO has had some really great original series for a really long time. And as far as I know, those are all still backlogged on there. So like Sopranos,
Yep.
Oz, Westworld. I mean, they've just had so many great original series and it's always been really good quality. I love that Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Netflix are doing original content and original series, and I think that's great. But I also really like that HBO's been doing it for a long time, like Larry David Show. There's just such
Yep.
a variety
Yep.
of stuff there. And you can watch all of it, like all the backlogs of all the seasons. And there's no commercials. And it's just, you can binge it and it's wonderful. And I love it. I love HBO stuff anyway. So
good.
that's my,
Good call.
yeah, it's my serum.
Yeah, no, you got it right. I like that. All right, Lindsay, what have you got for your Super Serum?
I assumed that Lisa would do Netflix. So anyone who actually knows me is going to be shocked because I just assumed it'd be taken. My gold is Hulu. My gold is Hulu. So I do not have cable. I refuse to pay for cable. So Hulu allows me to watch current TV. And it's so funny that your garbage was CBS because in my notes I have one of the great things about Hulu is it doesn't have CBS shows on it. And I'm fine with that because there's not a single CBS show that I watch. So I feel great about it. I like that I can keep up and I like that I can, still watch The Good Place and Superstore and stay up to date on those shows. And Hulu also has some really good, old TV. Like, there are days where I just turn on MASH, and I'm just gonna watch MASH for the day. They also have movies and are just kind of expanding. I'm a fan. I mean, probably my heart goes to Netflix, but Hulu, I see you. You cute.
Yep. I love The Good Place. I think my wife told me about it when they were just starting season 2. And I went back and watched season 1, loved it to death. I cannot wait for more of that show.
No, I love it so much. So good.
So
the
good.
Janet episode?
Oh, that was amazing.
So,
amazing.
such good television.
I love that. Oh, I'm so bored. Now, once again, we did not talk beforehand. I am in agreement with one of you.
It's going to be Lisa this time.
Would you like to take a guess where that's going to fall?
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
I think it's
I don't
Lisa.
know. I don't know. I'm going to go Lindsay again.
Lindsay, you are correct. It is Lisa this time.
Oh, yay!
So I am with you on the HBO Now, HBO Go. HBO Go is for the subscribers of HBO. HBO Now was the spin-off service that they said, if you don't have HBO, if you're a cord cutter, you can pay for it. And it's basically the same cost as getting HBO.
Yeah.
Yes.
HBO was smart. They're going to get that money on both sides of the coin.
Yep.
Do not let a dollar go by. I love it.
Yep.
Capitalism at its finest. Now, having said that, this is why I love it. HBO really defined how good storytelling and how good TV can be starting with The Sopranos and then rolling into things like The Wire. And you've got Band of Brothers that's on there. You've got documentaries. You do have sports, which I enjoy sports, but I don't care for boxing, and that's primarily what you get over there.
Yeah.
But they do have sports. They have the documentaries, like I said, The Newsroom, Game of Thrones. Even though I don't watch it, Sex and the City I know is a hugely popular show. Veep, last week tonight with John Oliver. I mean, there's just they have quality stuff, and they have their entire backlog on there. So I know that it's coming around time for that Game of Thrones in just a couple weeks. I know it's time for me to go and resubscribe to HBO Go, HBO Now, so I can start watching it. And I always make it a point that when I do that for Game of Thrones, that I go and I also say, oh, hey, I'm going to catch up on the season of Silicon Valley and Veep that I haven't seen yet. And so I binge all that stuff. And so Netflix and Hulu takes a back seat for a month or two, and it's just HBO. And then once Game of Thrones is done and I've kind of caught up, unless there's something big on the horizon, that's usually when I drop it again. And, about a year later, I come back and revisit it and catch up again. Yeah. So HBO Go, HBO Now is my jam. It's, like I said, the pricing's great because they keep it just like if you were paying for cable with the prices. They don't gouge.
Right.
And they're everywhere. You can find that app on any service, which is, I think, key.
Yeah, and it's current episodes. So episodes that are being shown on HBO new are also on the streaming. And I'm like, I love that because there's nothing worse. Hulu makes you wait till the next morning. I'm like, come on. I just want to watch it right now.
Well, in some cases, you can actually watch it before it airs in your time zone, which I think is kind of crazy. But I like that they're not trying to like micromanage that.
Right.
Yes.
Like that would feel super, super heavy-handed to me. So
Agreed.
our super serums, Lisa and I are on with the old HBO Go/Now, and Lindsay is on with the Hulu, even though she hearts Netflix.
I do hard Netflix.
So you can't go wrong with either of those choices, but Super Friends, we will let you weigh in next week and we'll find out where you're at. I think I know where it's going to go. It's probably all going to go Hulu, and like Lisa and I are going to be like the lone, people out on the island.
It
but
makes up for the grunge music, okay? It makes up for the grunge.
yeah. However, since Game of Thrones is coming up real soon, that might help sway some in our favor.
Fine.
Maybe.
I
don't
love
know.
losing. It's my favorite.
Not bitter. Not even a little.
All right, our last topic, Steven Spielberg movies. I thought this would be fun because he has had a long career. He has done a ton of directing. He's done a bunch of executive producing, which means like they totally like put his name all over it and they hype it up in the media like Steven Spielberg presents. So everyone says, oh, this is a Steven Spielberg movie. You're like, yeah, he's paying for it. He's not actually directing it, but sure, whatever.
Right.
So, Lindsay, who is your Kryptonite? What is your Kryptonite film for Steven Spielberg movies?
My Kryptonite film for Steven Spielberg movies is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That is... Okay.
I just want you to know my heart stopped for a beat.
Me too.
I was like,
Me too. I was like,
do not say Raiders of the Lost Ark. Do not. I will cry on this podcast.
Lindsay, I thought you were going to say Indiana Jones, and I was like, no!
Lisa, come on. You know me better than that. So that is the fourth Indiana Jones movie released in 2008. Yes. It is starring, of course, Harrison Ford and Shia LaBeouf, my favorite motivational speaker, probably my least favorite actor. I do love a little Shia. Just do it. Sometimes it is okay for things to just be left in the past. The third movie, Indiana Jones movie, is called The Last Crusade for a reason. And I don't like watching heroes get old. I think you just have to retire. And so like Chris Evans has it right. He's like, I am done being Captain America. This is over. Sometimes you just need to walk away. And Harrison Ford, who hurt you? Because you did this. And then you did Blade Runner, and you're doing Star Wars. Like, is no one offering you good work anymore? Like, I'm very concerned about Harrison because I just want him to do some good stuff.
I think it's the truckload of money, Lindsay.
Yeah.
There's a lot
for
of money
sure.
being offered to
Harrison.
Mr. Ford.
People have asked him, like recently, they said, like, Harrison Ford, what did you enjoy? Going back to playing Han Solo, going back to playing Rick Deckard, going back and playing Indiana Jones is like, what's your favorite? What drives you? And he's like, all the money.
Yeah.
Like legit deadpan. That's what he says. I'm like,
he's a weird dude anyway, but that is.
They offer you millions and millions of dollars and you're in your like 70s to come back and play some action hero.
Yeah.
You're not going to be jumping off that cliff. Some stunt double in his 20s is going to be doing that.
And he still broke
you
his
take
leg,
that
didn't he?
paycheck.
So that was Harrison.
He like fell out of the Millennium Falcon, I think. Yes.
That was a plane crash though. Like he legit crashed his plane he was flying.
Oh, that's right.
That's how he broke his leg. Yeah.
The only good thing that came out of any of those remakes is the Ryan Gosling Harrison Ford interviews when they are promoting Blade Runner. It is the funniest thing because Harrison Ford does not want to be there and Ryan Gosling thinks it's hilarious. Just a little teaser for you all. According to IMDb, Harrison and Steven Spielberg are working on another Indiana Jones movie to be released in 2021.
True.
So come on, Harrison. Stop.
So here's my question. Indiana Jones and the Rest Home?
Yes.
I mean,
I hope so. It's untitled at the moment, so let's submit that title.
I mean, Indiana Jones in the case of the Metamucil? I mean, what?
In the case of the Lost Walker?
Right, exactly.
Can't
the
get out
Walker
this
of
airplane.
Destiny. I am very glad you hit Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I totally am okay with that, but legit, I was like, don't say Raiders of the Lost Ark. I will lose it. I will cry. That is like one of the best films ever.
Yeah.
I can't believe the lack of trust in me. And then I remember I haven't seen a Star Wars movie, and it all makes sense.
Yeah. It was just that pause. It was that like slight pause right before you said it. I was like,
Jones and
I needed to make sure I said it right because I have been practicing it and still getting it wrong every time. So I had to check my notes to make sure I was doing it right.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay. Whew. Let me just take a moment. Let me calm down. Make sure I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. All right. So, Lisa, what is your kryptonite for Steven Spielberg movies?
Yeah, so this is more Lindsay's jam on the whole, is to attack something from your childhood. But I'm gonna take that mantle today and say my kryptonite of Steven Spielberg movies is The Goonies.
Ooh.
I do not think it's great. I think it's overhyped and overrated, and I think that we look through it through a lens of nostalgia that makes us think it's better than it is. It's not. It's not great. It's not even good.
Wow.
I think The Goonies is garbage. I do.
Neither
of you can form sentences right now. Makes me really happy.
I have talked to people who have never seen this movie, and they said everyone talked this up and said it was so great, and then I tried watching it, and it's trash. I was like, okay, wait, I get that. If you've never seen it and you're now trying to go back and watch something from like 1986, I get that. It was a kids movie filmed for kids in 86.
If you have to front load telling me to watch a movie by defending a movie, it's probably not going to be a movie I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
That's true.
But fully based on nostalgia, I got to say that when I used to skip school, be sick from school as a kid, my mom knows, she, not a big deal. But when I would skip school, I would always watch 2 movies if I had to stay home and, pretend I was sick. I would always watch The Goonies, and I would always watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, coming from Chicago, where I grew up, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is like legit, like that is Chicago.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes we'd watch the Blues Brothers in there as well for the same reason. Definitely more in high school.
Yeah.
But The Goonies is like, that is one of those, like, it has a sacred place in my heart because it represents childhood, and it was cool for the time. But if I'm honest, if I was watching it now fresh, it would be kind of rough.
Yeah, there's a lot of problematic things that happen in that too, and there's just a lot of like we're just gonna gloss right over a lot of really problematic, uncomfortable things.
The whole like I had a son that had some birth defects, so we chained him up in the basement.
Yeah, totally. Give him a candy bar. Oh, it's the end, and we're just gonna we're done. All right, see you. See you. Yeah, it's not great. Yep. Yeah. It's garbage. It is kryptonite. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't know how. I think you're right, but of all the Spielberg movies to go there,
I know.
Yeah.
I understand.
I thought I would go a little edgy. Oh yeah, honorable mentions would certainly include like Jurassic Park 2 and 3, and AI is terrible. Like there's a lot of terrible ones to choose from, but I thought Goonies would be a hot take, and I really do think it's garbage. So there you go.
Welcome to internet hate, because people hate it when you attack their childhood. So get ready.
I had this brief vision of hating on Ready Player One just to see how mad the internet would get at me, and then I was like, no, Lisa, we want to have a podcast, so we need to bring that in a little bit.
I enjoyed the book.
Yeah. The book was great. Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie for what it was.
Right.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but it was fine.
Yeah.
That definitely probably would have rankled a lot of people. This take though, Lindsay's right. You're attacking people's childhood.
They don't
people
like
that are
They
young.
get real mad.
People. I'm going to say people that are younger than me, because I'm not going to make any assumptions on age here, although I'm going to take a few guesses based on our music preferences. People younger than me, I'm just going to say me, probably are going to see the Goonies in that light. People around my age, a little older, maybe slightly younger, they're going to have a problem with that. I'm just saying.
I'm
the
ready.
The internet ain't gonna like that.
Just about 3 times a week at this point. I can take it.
That is true. That is true.
All right, my kryptonite is AI, artificial intelligence by Steven Spielberg.
That was my runner-up. We are
perfect.
Now. I'm gonna say that we're in a dystopian future where this lady's kid dies, and so she goes and gets this robot to approximate the kid, and he's made to look like the boy, and she gives him a teddy bear, and he walks around, and he wants to become a real boy, and he gets kicked out because there's some trickery with the other kid after they have a real child. And so he goes on this adventure to go find the blue fairy that he saw in the story of Pinocchio. And as I'm watching this movie, and I've only seen this movie once and once only, it was in the theaters, and I swore to high heaven I would never watch it again. I kept thinking, this is literally Pinocchio. This is literally Pinocchio. And the fact that they're now showing you, hey, he's reading Pinocchio and he's emulating Pinocchio. I'm like, no, this is a bad take on Pinocchio. This to me was the point that Steven Spielberg said, I want to connect to my roots about telling movies with kids or about kids, but I've changed enough that I don't find a way to connect and have that magic that I used to, and I'm trying. Yeah. Before, I don't think he was trying. I think he just had it, and there was magic that he had in some of his older movies. This was forced. It was rough. It was so blatant what it was, and I hated every moment of it. I've never watched it again, and I won't. I just won't.
It's a good take.
It's real bad. It is real bad.
It's real bad. And the fact that Steven Spielberg's name is associated to it just hurts my heart because I love so many things he does. And I get that we all have bad days.
Yes.
But he probably spent a good year and a half making this thing. You had a bad year and a half?
Right.
Yeah.
That you never thought, maybe not. Maybe we should just scrap this. Let's just, cut our losses and move on from
Didn't
this.
that movie also kill Haley Joel Osment's career?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the end of
Yeah.
HJO.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a real thing, but I'm going to call him that.
Yeah, you go
He would just
for
like
it.
that he's being mentioned somewhere in this
Right.
world.
That was cruel. True, but cruel.
Cruel but true.
Wrong.
All right, so we have some hot ones here. AI is my kryptonite. And then the Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is Lindsay's. And then the soul-crushing, childhood-destroying Goonies is Lindsay's.
Yeah.
Lisa's Twitter handle is... No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Here's where you can find Lisa and let her know. All
I'll
right,
hear
so
about it.
now let's try to swing this in the other direction so we can get a little love from the Super Friends here at the end of this. What is your super serum, Lisa, for Steven Spielberg movies?
Yeah, Lindsay and I do this on our show too. There's a couple honorable mentions of ones that I did not choose, including the original Jurassic Park, and also I'm a Indiana Jones Temple of Doom super fan, so those are my two. But the gold I chose of the Spielberg movies is Jaws because I obviously like a good horror movie. I like a good thriller, but so there's a lot of that tension that builds up, and it's a small, tight cast of characters, so you really get a character study of all of them, which I really appreciate. And there's that open water fear kind of going, and the animatronics are, I think, pretty decent considering the time frame of the movie, but that scene that always gets me is when they're in the ship and they're having a discussion over drinks. It feels very Tarantino before he was being Tarantino. It's like that conversation that just enriches the whole movie in the midst of a horror film. It was just it's so good. Jaws is just, it's so good. It's so good.
So speaking of first dates, I know a little while ago you talked about first dates.
We did,
I took a first date who said she was up for something adventurous.
Oh.
We went out on a boat. I had a generator back on land, and we strung a cable, and I had this was back in college, I had a TV VCR combo.
I don't like where this is going.
And we watched Jaws in a rowboat on a lake at night.
No, that's not adventurous.
No.
That's
Oh.
the start of
See-
a serial killer movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
However, in my college brain, I thought, this is going to freak her out. She's going to clutch up on me because she's going to be scared. That's my in with her.
Yeah, it's going to freak her out and she's going to report you to the authorities.
Yeah, ladies,
Yeah,
we are better than this. We are better than this.
I'd like to say so. However,
No.
Now that's not my wife. I did not. This is not her. This was some random girl that I was dating at the time for like 3 weeks in college.
That is a bold move. All right.
But let me tell you though, watching Jaws in a rowboat on a lake.
Yeah.
Whoo! I was trying to be cool and be like, I'm Mr. Swap. Oh, I was scared.
Yeah.
That is, it's a lot of.
I'm not scared of sharks. I'm not scared of the water, but
well, there you are. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, Jaws is such a great call. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
That movie.
It's so good. Yeah.
Okay. Lisa coming strong with her super serum with Jaws.
Thank you.
Lindsay, what do you have for me?
So my super serum Spielberg movie is Schindler's List. Schindler's List. It is so it's one of the few movies, like one of the first movies that I really remember like affecting me emotionally that wasn't like The Fox and the Hound. Like it was beautifully done. Liam Neeson, Ben Kingsley, and I don't know how historically accurate it is, but everything I know about World War II I know from Schindler's List. I feel like it just seemed like it was real and beautiful, and Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
I
that is a good one.
love that.
Yeah.
So Schindler's List, man, you're right. Like that is a movie that when you go back and you rewatch it now, like I don't know how you don't get like emotional at the end where he's like, this ring could have been 10 more people, and you're like, oh.
And Ben Kingsley's like, it was enough. I'm like, it wasn't, but he said it.
Yeah. Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
That is a tearjerker for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
so good.
Such a good call.
Beautiful. It's just a beautiful movie, and black and white, and
I was gonna say
so
the black
good.
and white really just enhances
What a great
it too.
choice! Like in 1993 to choose to film to release a film in black and white, like people don't do that. So it's beautiful.
And I also like the added benefit that like Steven Spielberg, like that was a subject and a topic that was very close to his heart, and very personal to him. And so you can see that movie was not made with the intention of capitalizing and making money.
Right.
It was done with such love and care for the topic and the subject matter. Like it just beautiful, beautiful through and through. Oh man. I feel like my choice here is like so like not on this level. But,
oh my gosh. I really hope it's what I think it is. Let's find out.
But my super serum is the classic, the quintessential Steven Spielberg movie that most people are going to think of when they think of Steven Spielberg, and that is E.T. the Extraterrestrial. This movie, for me, as a kid, the whole idea of space travel always captured my imagination. I went to space camp in 5th grade. Like I had pictures of like rockets on my wall. Anything to do with space. Partially is because my dad loved it, and he instilled that love into me. And my dad's not here, so anytime I watch any of that stuff anymore, like it makes me think of my father who's no longer with us. And so like it always gets me really emotional. Like I can't watch Apollo 13 without thinking of my dad. I watched First Man this last year, and that just it just made me think of my dad again. But E.T., though, was this movie that it captured the imagination of like what happens if an alien comes to Earth. And its first like real contact is with a small boy. And the innocence there of Elliot, and then with his little sister Gertie and his brother and like the mom, and like how they bond, and they're just trying to help him get home. They don't have any ulterior motives. And there is the whole element of like the government that's trying to like, capture him, and they want to run tests on him. And so like they're trying to like defy the odds and escape and get him back to his ship and back to his own race and his people, aliens. It cemented Spielberg with this idea that like he knew how to do a movie with kid actors better than any other director. And what's interesting about this is that usually you film a movie, and you ladies know this, you film a movie, it's filmed out of order, it's all jumbled up because you have shots over here and pickups and whatnot. But Steven Spielberg actually filmed this movie in chronological order, scene by scene, so he could get an honest reaction from the children that he was using, because otherwise, if it was filmed out of order, he feared that, they're small kids, they're not going to be, they're not Laurence Olivier. right? They're children. I mean, this is Drew Barrymore when she was 5. Like,
Right.
they need to get honest, emotional reactions. E.T. has a special place in my heart. E.T., and I'm gonna find this here. It has been listed like over and over and over again for like awards and awards and accomplishments. And critical response, that it has been included on like the 100 must-see films list of the 20th century. It has been put in the Library of Congress. It has been voted like time and time again as like one of the number one movies you have to see that deals with, sci-fi, fantasy, children, like all these like wonderful themes. If I'm being honest, and I know AFI's top 100 always puts like Citizen Kane as number one, I disagree with that. For me, it's E.T.
I don't know if I'd go quite there, but yeah.
It's E.T.
I think what's interesting is for all three of us, our golds are these like kind of like genre defining movies.
Yes.
And like, way to go, Steven Spielberg, for just being like, oh, I did that. I did a horror movie about sharks.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do a kids movie about aliens. And now I'm going to do a historical biopic. Something like that. I just think he's, way to go.
He is a very, very gifted individual. He can do so much, and he has done like there were so many things. I'm like, obviously, like Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark is like one of my all-time favorites, and he did that with George Lucas at a time when literally they were trying to like one up each other because they were friends trying to one up each other, in the movie industry, and like just there's so much good he has done. So few things I really say are trash, except for a few things we've mentioned tonight, which do happen to be there. His later career just.
Yeah.
So let's recap this. Our super serums: Lindsay coming in strong with Schindler's List. Lisa coming in strong with Jaws, and then me going like the easy route and picking E.T.
A good one. It's still.
It's an amazing film.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is like the gimme. I think it just seems too easy. But I'm standing by it though because I'm a human adult and I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, I love your podcast. I love Garbage and Gold.
Thank you.
It is so much fun. Super friends, if you're listening to this and you enjoy this discussion where we're bouncing back and forth on topics and ideas, and you want to get more of that on a weekly basis, you got to go check this podcast out. Just being honest, I'm not blowing sunshine here. It's amazing. Go have fun. You will laugh yourself silly. It's definitely worth a listen. And it's great because it's short. It's like 35, 40-ish minutes. You can listen to it on a car ride to or from work or wherever you're going on the bus or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I finished listening to an episode the other day when I was sitting at a Jiffy Lube. So it was.
We should do a partnership with Jiffy Lube. That should be a thing.
Right?
We should have it piped in.
Right? I love it.
Perfect.
All right, super friends. So our question of the week is obvious. We are going to ask for your opinions on our three topics: the movie remakes, the streaming services, and the Steven Spielberg movies. Let us know what you think of our Kryptonite. Let us know what you think of our super serum. I will get all that out on the social media this upcoming weekend so you can weigh in on that. Lisa, Lindsay, tell everyone where they can find Garbage and Gold, what you got coming up, anything you want to pimp out on the podcast right now. The time is yours.
Awesome. So you can find us on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Garbage Gold Pod. And then our website is, I don't actually know. So Lisa, why don't you hit him with the website?
GarbageandGoldPod.com.
Okay.
And you can find all of our old episodes there and links to subscribe to our podcast there as well.
Nice. What do you got coming up on the agenda? What's your next episode?
Oh boy, we record a couple weeks out, so I have to kind of go back and remember. The one that would be out this week for when your podcast drops will be New Jobs.
Ooh.
And then we have breakfast cereals coming the week after that.
Nice.
Yeah. And then
Is it
oh
TGIF
gosh, we're going.
shows?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're going back to the '90s with TGIF shows. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a lot of good stuff coming on up.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Get on it, super friends. Don't sleep on this. I'm just saying. Get on it now.
Yes.
Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.